Using the recommended charts is not the only way of creating charts in Excel. We have two other methods. Let's take our sales data 2013 and explore these two methods. So in January, I'm thinking I quite like the idea of a chart. I select the data I would like to include in my chart, then go to Insert. I avoid the recommended charts, but in the rest of this section, there are all the main chart types, and they all have little drop-down arrows, so you can choose the subcategory. So this is a column chart. I've got an option for 3 different 2D columns, and notice as I move, the graph is actually created in front of me. 3D clustered, 3D stacked, 3D 100% stacked, and then 3D columns. Or perhaps a bar chart. And again, I can hover through and I will get a little preview of what it will look like. Or a line chart. I quite like that one. Line with markers. Creates my chart, which I can resize to fit how I would want on my sheet. Now that's the normal method. In February, if I wanted to create a graph of the same data effectively, but obviously for a different month, so it's the same cell range, so not using the insert chart and picking a chart type, not using the recommended charts to see what Excel suggests for me, but by actually doing a keyboard shortcut, F11. So if I were to do that now with the data selected, I get a chart. It uses the default chart type, the bar chart, and this time it actually creates it not as an object within the sheet, but as a separate sheet. So we can see here chart 2 has been created, not as an object inside February, as it does when we do an insert chart, but the keyboard shortcut creates one on its own and creates it in chart 2. Now we can move the chart if we don't want it to be its own sheet by choosing Move Chart from the Chart Tools Design ribbon and say we would like it as an object in February. OK. And then I can move it where I want it and resize to fit. Likewise, if it is an object inside a sheet, I can move it so it has its own sheet. So the January one, for example, I'll make sure I select my chart and then Move Chart. I can create it as a new sheet and call that Jan chart. OK, and we see Jan chart gets created and my graph fills the whole sheet. So it's down to personal preference or the makeup of your particular workbook where you would like the chart. It doesn't even need to be either in its own sheet or in the sheet with the data. You could put all of your charts in one sheet. So if I were to add a new sheet and just call it Charts, I could move the January chart, so that's Chart Tools Design Move Chart, into the Charts sheet. Notice how the January chart sheet just then disappears. And let's move that over there. And then I can move the February one into the same place. So Move Chart as an object in Charts is then removed from February and placed in my chart sheet. That way you could perhaps have all of your charts together for each of the months of the year. So we have create a chart, selecting your data, insert, choose the chart type, and then the subchart type from the drop down, or the quick keyboard shortcut for creating a chart, which is F11 on the keyboard.